Welcome to Fascinating, a Star Trek podcast. Episode 13, The Conscience of the King.
In this week's episode, Kirk is alerted to the possible survival of a murderous dictator from his past who was thought to have died many years previously. Befriending the man's daughter, he looks to confirm the truth of the matter before laying accusations, but will a string of suspicious deaths and an attempt on his own life change his approach?
Did you order the soft lights especially for the occasion?
If I had ordered soft lights, I'd also have arranged for music, flowers.
Greetings, Ian.
Good evening, Gerry. We've survived another week.
We have. Did you arrange the lights here? They're a bit dimmed, quite romantic.
There are just a few bulbs have gone and I can't afford to replace them.
Alright, what about the flowers?
I'm not sure where they came from. I thought that was your...
Oh, are you trying to seduce me?
Like
Mrs. Roberts?
Like I say, who knows where they've come from. Hope we're not allergic.
Oh, that's Mr. It's Robinson, not Robertson. That's the Scottish version.
Yeah, you've got it all wrong.
I have.
Embarrassed yourself on national TV.
I'll never do this again.
Did you enjoy a bit of cultural enrichment this week? It's always good.
Yeah, for what there was of it. I mean, it wasn't a massive amount, was it?
A bit of Shakespeare at the start
And the end, yeah. A couple of quotes, yeah.
I think it's the second Shakespeare-titled episode that we've had.
Dagger.
Yeah.
No, I did enjoy the episode. It had a feel of a murder mystery to it.
A little bit, it did.
Mm-hmm.
I like Kirk obviously doesn't like mysteries, we know that, but
He hates them.
belly aches and so on, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Although I don't think there would have been too many people surprised by the ending. I certainly wasn't.
No, it wasn't a massive stunner, was it?
No.
But it was played out fairly well.
It was. It was very enjoyable.
I think we'll come to it, but Lenore's outcome was a bit shocking.
You mean after?
At the very end, yeah.
Yeah, when we find out how they've dealt with her?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, we will get to that, yeah. This might be a bit confusing for people because we discussed a few weeks ago the fact that I was going to go and see William Shatner down in London.
Yes.
And you hadn't got a ticket.
Correct.
And I think that's the episode that's coming out tomorrow. But in the meantime, you've managed to go last night to see him in Glasgow.
I have.
Whilst I was at Steve Martin Short, and I am due to get down to London in a few days' time next week, but that might not be on because of the whole coronavirus.
Yeah, so the important thing is one of us has seen William Shatner live.
Yeah, we can't really discuss it because I don't want spoilers.
That would ruin it for you, but maybe in next week's episode we can talk, because I'm sure it'll be a similar experience that you get to the one I had last night.
A very similar experience.
Hopefully with a more robust and more informed host.
Yeah, you didn't think he was up to the job or appropriate?
He didn't come across as a fan.
No.
Which was disappointing.
Couldn't have been worse than when I went down to the same venue actually a few years ago to see Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
Mike Reid. Oh.
Of the UKIP Calypso.
Yeah, notoriously bad performance. The online carnage after that was quite hilarious. And he disappeared for a few months, which was a good thing.
We weren't at that level of terrible. It was just a little bit, shall I say, by the book.
Okay. Anyway, enough of that. Will we commence with this week's episode?
Launch our way into it.
Crack on.
It's quite an unusual opening, actually. We begin in a theatre.
Yes, where a Shakespearean dagger is driven into the chest of a king who recoils in agony as the killer considers what he has done.
Poor Duncan.
Yeah, dunked
on.
Dunked
as they
on
would
donuts.
say. No,
okay.
It's Macbeth that's being performed. Scottish play.
Oh, we can't say Macbeth.
Yep, Scottish play.
Okay, don't ever say Macbeth. One of the best Blackadder episodes, if you recall.
Yes. People who like that sort of thing might want to go and hunt for a podcast on it.
They should do, yeah. Kirk is in the audience watching the Arcturian Macbeth. I think the subtitles have this spelt differently with a K.
For Arcturian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the... Yes, of course, one of the actors is an Arcturian, which is an alien race. We don't really hear much more about them.
We don't. and he is alongside an eye-patched man who seems quite agitated and tells him to watch Macbeth.
Yes, this is Leighton.
Thomas Leighton. The actor continues his performance, but Leighton is more concerned with reality rather than the role, and accuses him of being whom, who, what, how.
Kodos, the executioner.
Oh, that's pretty ominous. There are not too many people nicknamed the executioner, is there? That's not quite...
They're generally not cheerful people and happy-go-lucky sorts, are they?
Even in sport, is there any executioners?
I'm not aware of any.
There must be in wrestling. Sounds like wrestling.
Oh, probably.
At this point, we have the credits. Quite a short pre-credit sequence this week.
But not the shortest. We've already covered the shortest.
We've discussed that, yeah. Then we have the standard captain's log, 2817.6.
Yes, Kirk is explaining why or how they've come to this planet. I think Dr. Leighton has invited the Enterprise, or has summoned the Enterprise, because he claims to have discovered a synthetic food that would end the threat of famine on, I think there's a nearby colony called Cygnia Minor.
Yeah, we could be doing with that just now. And synthetic toilet rolls. Well, they're all synthetic, I suppose, but I don't know, they're made out of
natural
pulp.
fibres, yeah. Recycled. Now, yes, we're having shortages as people stupidly panic buy.
How many did you receive today through Amazon?
6 packets.
6 packets of what, 12?
4.
Okay, so 24.
Yeah, standard double purchase.
Mm-hmm.
But that was because people had panic bought them out the shop and I couldn't get any.
Okay, so you're just panic buying because of the panic buying?
I'm not panic buying, I'm buying.
We're down on Cygnia Minor.
Yes, Leighton reveals to Kirk he just made up that synthetic food thing, which is going to cause some difficulties.
It should have caused some, yeah. And Kirk is rightly unhappy. We hear him berate Leighton for taking him 3 light years out of his way because he thinks he might have spotted Kodos working as an actor. Now, I initially assumed that this was before the performance. So I thought that when they were watching, this had already happened.
No, this is after.
Yeah.
It's just chronological. It would have made sense to tell him in advance, but I think he might have been concerned that Kirk would just leave.
Yeah.
Without having had seen it for himself.
Leighton is clearly desperate to catch this Kodos character and insists it was him, even as Kirk tells him he has put them both in trouble.
Yes, Kirk insists at this point that Kodos is dead, but Leighton reminds him the body was burned beyond recognition and never formally identified. I think we're seeing the limits of 60s science here. I think nowadays there would at least have been a reference to wouldn't have any DNA or there, something along those lines.
Yeah, there should be a reference to not having it, but it is possible that, you need a sample to compare to, so it's not...
Yeah, normally in burn victims it would be dental records you would use for identification.
Yeah.
Even now.
In the future they don't have teeth.
Okay. Anyhow...
Tell me about this character, Kodos. What's he accused of, or who is he?
Yeah, so he was, I think, the governor or the administrator of this colony, or a colony, and he butchered 4,000 people. I think...
Not an insignificant amount, I would say.
50% of the people... It's about Thanos. 50% of the people who lived there, but I think he seems to have harmed others, because Leighton has suffered significant facial injuries. We see him wearing what appears to be an eye patch, but turns out to cover half his head. Sure.
That may have been in defence of other family members, of course, not necessarily through torture.
Apparently there were only 8 or 9 surviving people who could identify him.
Kirk appeals to Leighton's wife, who has been standing beside him. She's called Martha, but she admits to being unable to change her husband's belief since the actors arrived on the planet.
Leighton points out that even though Kirk is adamant and is satisfied of Kodos' death, that there's a cocktail party at the house later and he should come along because Caridian has been invited and Kirk can suss it out for himself.
Yes, the entire company of actors will be there.
Caridian, of course, being the one he suspects is Kodos.
Indeed.
Kirk's main concern, though, is how's he going to square this all away in his log?
Yeah. In any case, we head up to the briefing room on the Enterprise. And Kirk, in fairness, must not be entirely sure of his opinion. So I think you mentioned just there that Kirk is claiming that he believes that Kodos is dead.
Yeah.
But that can't be the case, because we next see him carrying out some computer-based research.
Library computer.
History files. Subject, former Governor Kodos of Tarsus IV, also known as Kodos the Executioner. After that, background on actor Anton Caridian.
Working. Kodos the Executioner. Summary. Governor of Tarsus IV, 20 Earth years ago, invoked martial law, slaughtered 50% of population Earth colony that planet. Burned body found when Earth forces arrived. No positive identification. Case closed. Detailed information follows. On stardate 2794.7.
Stop.
Kodos.
Information on Anton Caridian.
Director and star of traveling company of actors, sponsored by Galactic Cultural Exchange Project. Touring official installations last 9 years. Has daughter Lenore, 19 years old, traveling with...
Give comparative identification between actor Caridian and Governor Kodos.
No identification records available on actor Anton Caridian.
Give information on actor Caridian prior to Kodos' death.
No information available Anton Caridian prior to 20 years ago.
Couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the first time we hear Majel Barrett as the computer's voice. She went on to remain as the computer's voice. I know we had a computer speaking in Mud's Women, but it wasn't her, I don't think.
I think it might have been. I'm sure
Maybe
this isn't
it was.
the first time.
But anyway,
I am no expert on Star Trek, but you are the leading online authority,
I'm
Ian.
leading
so-
on this podcast authority, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we have heard her before.
Well, my information that I didn't verify personally by looking back is this is the first time she's the... Maybe in Mud's Women it's a specific unit of computing for that purpose.
Okay.
Anyway, this is the first time, or this is a time that we hear her, but she goes on to be all the computer voices in the future Star Trek.
Sure.
I thought it was quite interesting. The response that Kirk gets from the computer to this query is pretty much on a par with what you would get now from
Talking to someone.
an Amazon Echo or an Alexa device. It's about that same level of information, so it's not a bad shot. I mean, they're a couple of 100 years out in terms of predicting what the future would be able to... You're never going to get it exactly right. But it's a good shot at what would be available in the future.
Close enough, I suppose. There was a massive trope, and it's always a giveaway when there's a burned body in a mystery. You know
Unidentified,
that,
yeah.
And there's another trope later on when we see a gloved hand. And a gloved hand normally suggests a female.
Does it?
Yeah.
Is that the law?
It's the movie cliche law. Because if it was just a man's hand who you'd expect to be a murderer, they don't need to hide it. So it's what can you identify from a hand, and the big giveaway is if it's a female hand, then it narrows down the possible suspects. But let's not do any spoilers.
We'll get to that one in due course.
We will.
Kirk goes on to look at images of the two men. He can't quite confirm that they're the same guy.
No, I think they are, though.
It's entirely possible. Spock comes in, and Kirk turns his computer off, as you do when your boss comes in and you're looking at something on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I was just...
It's a spreadsheet, Spock, it's a spreadsheet.
He asks his opinion on Leighton and gives a glowing reference.
Yeah, he specifically asks if he thinks Leighton is given to fantasy, but Spock says he is... I'm not sure if this is his faint praise, but he's occasionally brilliant.
I think
What's he the rest of the time?
just quite good.
Yeah, he's really good and occasionally brilliant.
I would take that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm often described as occasionally brilliant, and I take that, accept that.
Yeah, because it makes you think of maybe a footballer who's pretty average, but occasionally brilliant, but most of the time,
Yeah.
like a winger.
You've referred to me as occasionally brilliant before, haven't you?
Occasionally something.
Okay. Anyway,
Spock reports that the ship's ready to leave, but Kirk isn't happy with that. He wants them to hang around for a little bit longer.
yes, but not only that, he wants to be beamed back down.
He's going to the party.
Why not? You don't get many offers like that in space, do you?
Well, and I think that he has his own reasons for attending.
He does. That's where we see him mingling with a drink as we hear laughter and chatter. That would be expected in this type of a gathering. And so that's sort of in the veranda area outside.
It's a very sort of Columbo-esque scene, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Inside, Martha tells him that Tom Layton, is on his way back from town before he spots the arrival of a young blonde.
Yeah, well, Martha leaves and Lenore Caridian comes in. She was in the play.
And he gives her his full blast of Kirk charm, his smile, and she seems pretty taken. I assumed that they had met before.
They had not. This is just Kirk's way of speaking to women when he first meet them.
Yeah, it's almost like James Bond. There's just this attraction they can't resist.
It's Wayne
Jennings-esque,
yeah. Isn't it?
From Columbo, yeah. It's one of the worst Columbo episodes, but one of the most memorable.
Yes, this is
baddies.
Unexplained attraction that women just suddenly have. Although I think with Kirk, he's got not just the charm, but also the power.
Yes.
That would be appealing.
Oh, yeah.
And he carries himself in that way as well.
And he's got a reputation at Christmas parties.
Yeah, well, all parties, obviously. It made me wonder, is he immediately conscious of his plan here, or is he acting on instinct? It's like, sees the pretty girl, instinctively speaks to her in a certain way, and then figures out what he's going to do later.
I would go with that, yeah. Because, I mean, you would be attracted to her.
Yeah, and I don't think he would have any problem ditching her if he felt he didn't have any further interest.
Yeah, he just uses them then, or loses them.
I'm not saying he does that, but I'm saying if he wanted to, or if he decided that this was not serving any purpose, or he wasn't enjoying it, he wouldn't have any qualms about it.
Once the women are no use to Kirk, he sheds them.
Oh, let's see how this goes.
A different broad in every colony.
Let's see how this goes.
In any case, she reciprocates the signals.
Yeah, but he immediately tries to find out about her father and is disappointed to learn that he will not be attending this or any other party.
Yeah, so first of all, I think actually she refers to him as a welcoming party.
Yeah.
And he compliments her on her earlier performance before mentioning the father, as you said. Now, he introduces himself, but suspiciously, Dad will not be joining them. Why not?
He just doesn't go to parties.
Yeah, he doesn't like parties. I mean, that's, again, if you are a touring actor...
It's part of your job, isn't it, to promote the show?
It's to mingle, is to market, is to perhaps get... is to get leads to other colonies where you can perform. That's a vital part of this role.
You would think.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's not part of his role as he sees it. Kirk does switch tack at this point.
Yeah, because he finds this, I think he actually mentions, he finds it unusual for someone in that profession. Yeah,
I think he's suspicions, well, he's already got questions about this guy, doesn't he? So this is alerting him even further. So I think he decides to ingratiate himself further with Lenore.
He continues on a charm offensive. And I've actually noted here what you mentioned. I'm not sure at this point if it's purely business or there is a touch of the personal. I think both.
I think that he has the intention of getting to know her better because she will have information that he needs, but I think he's also perfectly willing to enjoy himself while he's doing that.
And why not? He concedes that she was very impressive, both as Lady Macbeth and as Lenore Caridian.
Well, she's the one that raises that question, what do you think of me as me? He's only about 2 minutes into a conversation with her.
He works fast. I was very impressed with Kirk here. No messing around.
Well, just ahead of that, though, he's gained a lot of information from her. He knows where they're performing next and he knows how they're going to get there.
Does he?
Yeah, he's learned that they're going to Benicia colony and that they'll be travelling on a ship called the Astral Queen, which is familiar to him.
Is it?
He says it is.
Okay. And he asks to see her again, and not necessarily in a professional capacity.
And not necessarily any time later.
No, yeah. So I'm thinking, he's going to arrange for tomorrow or a week in advance, but no, it's right away, and she agrees to leave with him.
I mean, she's a bit surprised, to be fair, that he's not let her go into the party.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think that you would be obliged. It would just be good manners to at least mingle for half an hour or so.
Yeah, I think from her point of view at this stage, as far as she's aware, he's leaving and they're leaving, and it's a one night only.
And you do not pass up the chance to have one night with Captain and James T. Kirk.
Well, as I enjoyed last night.
What?
One evening.
So we're outside. We see them taking a romantic stroll in the boulders. That's where I always take a first date, a walk in the rocks.
It looks a little bit like planet M113 from the Mantra.
It looks like a lot of the planets they beam down to be fair. Before they stop, and she apparently has read a lot into his personality in quite a short time.
Yep, and she says that he's now much more relaxed, away from the prying crowds.
Yes, where he doesn't have to act the captain in front of others.
It might just be a line.
Yeah, and he actually might be lonely.
Yeah, well, she says this, and I think he's quite happy to let her feel like she's insightful.
But I would agree with her. I mean, we don't, up to this point, as far as I'm aware, there's no female companionship in his life, so it would only be natural that a man in his 30s up in space.
Well, he's talked about this, so he has female companionship. The Enterprise is his lady.
Yeah, but remember that? Did you ever see the documentary about the woman who married the Eiffel Tower?
No, it doesn't seem quite the same thing, though.
Well, it is. There are those fetishists who...
I don't think he's a fetishist.
Who marry and have desires with, and act on those desires with inanimate objects, like the Eiffel Tower and bikes and things like that.
But I think
cars.
In Kirk's case, it's more of a metaphor.
I'm not sure. I would not be surprised if Spock walked in. Anyway,
their imminent embrace is interrupted when Kirk happens to spot his dead friend.
Yes, he runs over. I don't think he can see who it is at first. The head is behind the rock, but it's Tom and he's dead.
Yep, so they take him back to his house.
Yes, we're
for a bit of weekend at Bernie's house.
I quite like this. His wife Martha covers most of her husband's body, but she sort of leaves the forehead sticking out. And
the sheet's not long enough.
It's not. You think, okay, the sheet's not long enough. I either cover the entire head area or the feet. No, we must make sure the feet can't be exposed. And you leave just a chunk of head. No, cover the face, Martha. That's the most important thing.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, she seems remarkably calm about things, suggesting, well, at least he's at peace now. I mean,
well, I suggest maybe some time has passed.
Not really.
Maybe 20 minutes at least. She said
that's not enough time to
she's maybe in shock.
Take it all on. Well, she might be in shock, yeah.
She posits, though, that his theory must have been right, otherwise why would he have been killed?
It could have been a coincidence. He might have been mugged on the way back from town. What was he doing in town anyway?
Well, who knows? Kirk undertakes to find out if he can, and this seems to break Martha's facade.
Yeah, she sobs a little bit, goes for a quick sort of cuddle embrace, and then heads off. At which point he communicates with the Enterprise, asking to be put through to a Captain John Daly. If you remember in Shatner's Columbo Fade In, he killed a Claire Daly.
I thought this might be the golfer John Daly.
The big man.
Yeah, but I suspect he maybe wasn't quite old enough to be considered worth mentioning.
Probably not, no. We'll skip by the golf references, I think. I mean, the Columbo one was tenuous enough, Ian.
Well, people like these sort of segues.
Yeah.
Sides.
Anyway, John Daly is the captain of the Astral Queen.
It sounds like he owes Kirk a favour or two.
About 10 or 11, I think he mentions.
Yeah.
What does Kirk want Daly to do?
Not show up.
Yeah, he is the ship that's taking them to their next performance destination. And Kirk wants to be able to carry out this job. And he asks not just that Daly doesn't show up, but keep it between themselves.
Yeah, he says that he'll take responsibility for any trouble that results.
He does. Up on the bridge, Spock was unaware that they were due to pick up any additional personnel or cargo, and is surprised when Uhura tells Kirk that Lenore is on board.
He's particularly surprised because Kirk's just predicted it 2 seconds earlier.
Yeah. Now, I thought that in this episode, Kirk acted a little bit of a dick. I mean, it reminded me actually of, was it last week's episode? When, yeah, it was. The double header. When Spock didn't discuss his plans. Now, I don't see, and we'll get to it in there's a few scenes coming up, but there's no reason for Kirk not to bring Spock into his confidence.
Well, there is. Because if he finds out this is Kodos, he's going to kill him. And that's illegal. And Spock wouldn't let him do it.
No, but Spock doesn't need to know that he will do that.
Spock would figure it out.
No, I'm not sure. No, okay, let's crack on just now, and we'll get to it when we do. So, Lenore is brought up to the bridge, and
yeah, she gets there almost instantaneously.
Yeah, she's wearing a fur mini dress, and Spock asks Kirk how he knew she was arriving.
And he just says, I'm the captain.
Yeah, see, there's a couple of points like this when it doesn't need to be, even if you don't want to tell Spock what you're doing.
But he must know that Spock's smart enough to pick up on the fact that Kirk knew this in advance.
Which is even worse then. So you know that I know, but you're still trying to lie to me, and you know that I know you're lying.
But it could be that he's breadcrumbing it so that Spock will... I don't think it is, but it could be that he's just kind of leaving the information there for Spock to pick up on.
Giving him a massive benefit of the doubt there, I think. Yeah. In any case, she enters with a smile, and Kirk admits that he arranged her visit, but does not let her know that he is also responsible for her problem.
Yeah. He kind of suggests that he is, and she doesn't believe him.
Yeah.
So he's happy to let that go. She appeals to Kirk for help, which intrigues Spock, I think.
Yeah, we've got a raised eyebrow, which I liked. I think that betrays the fact that he's worked out what is going on.
Of course.
She then asks if the Enterprise can taxi them to their next port of call, and after pretending it was something he would have to consider, he appears to gallantly agree on the promise of a special performance for the crew.
He could not deny the crew that opportunity.
Yeah.
They do have a theatre on the ship.
I know. A bowling alley, a theatre, and I'm sure as well the crew, all these young, some Shakespeare, that's what we're desperate for.
I'd like to think that the bowling alley and the theatre are the same space that's repurposed.
I would like to think so, but I'm not convinced.
The leisure deck.
Now, I thought this was priceless. As Lenore leaves to prepare for this performance, Rand is entering and they pass each other, and the look that Rand, the sort of jealousy, the evil eye that she gives, she just glances up and down at Lenore, and obviously Lenore's a very becoming...
This is the last episode that Rand filmed, and this is pretty much all she does in it. Just comes in.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
She doesn't even speak, I don't think, does she?
No. And she already knew she was leaving when she filmed it.
Oh, I feel a bit disappointed for her.
I mean, we'll see her again, because she filmed another one before that gets broadcast later.
Okay, sure, but still.
This was her farewell. Just to give the evils to another woman who's eyeing up Kirk.
Claws out type.
You definitely can't have him. We've established this in many episodes. Just come in and look mean at this other girl who can have him.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't even pick up on her being there. I think I've got a note at the end that I didn't spot her.
Right. When Lenore is gone, Spock asks where they are going, and when told, he points out that the Benicia, is that it?
Benicia colony, yeah.
Yeah, is 8 light years off course. Now, how long does a light year take to...
A year at the speed of light.
Yeah, very good. But how long will that take them in Earth hours to...
Depends what speed they go. I think it'll be days.
Days out, okay.
I mean, they can go faster than the speed of light, but I think... I don't know, someone will definitely know this, but the warp factor, I think, is a multiple of the speed of light.
Okay.
So...
Yeah.
Whatever.
Now, this is another time when Kirk is... he sharply tells him that if he needs reminding, he will ask him to follow orders. That's a bit harsh.
Yeah, but I think, again, that's giving it away to Spock, isn't it? I think the answer to your previous question is it'll take just slightly longer than it will take Kirk to figure out the mystery.
Captain's log 2818.9, where he admits to having many questions about Caridian and Lenore, and his personal interest in this situation.
Yeah, he implies here that he's maybe falling for Lenore, and if she is the daughter of Kodos, he maybe doesn't want that to come out.
Now, do you think that if he thinks Lenore is an entirely innocent party here, that would make a difference to him? I mean,
yeah.
Really? I mean, if your father's a murderer, you're also the victim.
The sins of the father are not visited upon the son or daughter.
Yeah, they're not visited upon, yeah.
Yeah, so she should be innocent regardless.
That's what I'm saying, so she shouldn't have a problem, that's my question.
If he's going to murder her father, that's going to cause issues between them.
Okay, right. You've said this is the second time, Adam.
The implication
why would he? No. Why would...
He was on the colony. That's how he's seen him.
Yes, but why would he murder her father?
Because he was part of the group that saw their friends and family murdered by this guy.
No, but
he wants revenge.
No, I'm sorry. No, I, from what we've gathered so far, Captain Kirk is not the type of guy who would go renegade and just murder someone on the ship. He would take them to authorities and to be tried. Yeah. In fact, because he stopped someone later on from doing that.
Well, keep listening. I think it's strongly implied that Kirk would be willing to kill Kodos if he got his hands on him.
No, I disagree. I mean, I think, yeah, if it came to it and there was a struggle and he had to, it was a fight to...
Well, he'd just probably set it up like that.
No.
I don't think he's got any interest in bringing Kodos to justice.
I think he has. I think that's what he wants to arrest him and take him to whatever.
We'll keep listening and we'll come to a point where I can re-emphasise my point.
Okay.
Anyhow, back on the bridge, Kirk checks the ETA with Spock.
He's told it 2825.3.
Doesn't really help us as viewers.
Well, now we can work it out because you've told us how to... No,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Kirk, anyway, asks the computer for data on the survivors of Kodos murders.
Yes.
Whatever you want to call it.
There were 9 of the survivors. They include himself, Tom Layton, and Riley from Communications.
Who we will remember from the Naked Time when he took over the ship and started singing at everybody.
Yep, I hope he dies.
Well, that would be fitting for that terrible song.
Based on this, Kirk tells Spock that he wants Riley transferred from Communications back to engineering from where he originally came. And Spock, again, rightly, because if you're not giving him information, you can't object to being questioned when you make decisions that you have no... there seems no apparent rationale for. And again, he receives a very abrupt response from his captain. It's unacceptable behaviour.
Yeah, Kirk is avoiding the type of discussion that he would usually encourage. We've heard him quite often talk to his senior staff about how his role as captain is to gather all the opinions and act on them.
We've mentioned this before, yes. He normally does take on what he asks. He's not the type of he's not got the ego which makes him act like he knows everything.
Yeah.
He's quite happy to show that he wants opinions and he'll make his own decision. But so this doesn't... The writing of Kirk here in this episode didn't ring true from what I've seen up to now.
Yeah, which is why I think you have to consider the fact that he views this as a personal mission of vengeance.
Yeah, well...
Not only because of what Kodos did on the planet, which is Tarsus 4, but also because he's killed Layton now, and presumably others.
Yeah, but here's the thing. For me to believe that, I would have to have... There'd have to have been a story, a backstory where Kirk... Not that he just witnessed it. Kirk would have to have had his family murdered, a lot of close friends...
They don't establish that, so they do later establish that for Riley, that his family were murdered by...
Exactly, so therefore it's understandable why Riley and Kirk, we'll get to that, but there isn't enough of a motivation for Kirk not just to act like... I mean, why? Yeah, why doesn't he...
Yeah, and this is the other thing I don't understand. How are there only 9? There's a colony of 8,000 people. Kodos killed 4,000 of them. So there's still 4,000 people. How does that come down to 9?
Yeah, but when he did it, he was like a ninja. Most people
he was the governor of the colony. They must all know what he looked like.
Yeah, no, but they're witness. I think there's only 9 who actually saw him do it.
Do the killings?
Yeah.
But others still saw him in day-to-day life up until he started killing people. He was their governor. They must know. Even though they didn't witness him killing anybody, they still know what he looked like.
Yeah, but the story is that...
These are witnesses to his crime.
Yeah, but the story is that he's dead, so no one is looking for him. They think... So you're looking for people who have actually... There were only 9 people who saw him do it and could identify. There's just the 9 people. The other ones didn't see him do anything.
Well, they could identify that he is Kodos, but they can't pin a crime on him.
Yeah.
Okay. But if he's known as Kodos the Executioner...
Yeah, but they think he's dead.
But it's accepted that he did this crime.
Yeah.
And there are 4,000 people who can say, yes, he's Kodos. He ran our colony. We recognise him. And if he did this crime, that's the guy who did it.
Yeah, that's true.
In sickbay.
Spock is obviously annoyed with Kirk's attitude, and he has the usual back and forth with McCoy when he discusses it with him.
Mr. Spock, the man on top walks a lonely street. The chain of command is often a noose.
Spare me your philosophical metaphors, Doctor. Captain is acting strangely. I'm asking if you've noticed.
Negative. You know, this is the first time in a week that I've had time for a drop of the true. Would you care for a drink, Mr. Spock?
My father's race was spared the dubious benefits of alcohol.
Oh, now I know why they were conquered. What are you so worried about anyway? I find Jim generally knows what he's doing.
It was illogical for him to bring those players aboard.
Illogical? Did you get a look at that little Juliet? That's a pretty exciting creature. Of course, your personal chemistry would prevent you from seeing that. Did it ever occur to you that he simply might like the girl?
It occurred. I dismissed it.
You would?
Did you know that he suddenly transferred Lieutenant Riley to engineering?
Lots of things are going around here that I don't know, Mr. Spock. Now, he's the captain. He can transfer people as he pleases. You can look that up in 100 volumes of space regulations somewhere, all right? All right. Now, come on, have a drink.
No, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. But I will. And please, Mr. Spock, if you won't join me, don't disapprove of me. At least not until you've tried it, huh?
McCoy's always or often a big fan of the status quo. He likes to just justify things being okay as they are, no matter how odd they might seem or dangerous.
Yeah. Tell me about this Drew, that he's had a drop-off.
That looked like the story in Brandy to me.
Yeah. So what's a Drew? I've not heard that term before.
No, might be a American southern term, I guess. The Forrest Kelly was a southern gent.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I suppose it sounds like the same root as Druth, maybe. Just be a word for drink, or the drink.
No doubt. Maybe someone can tell us.
Yeah.
From sickbay, where do we go next?
Well, for the only time ever in Star Trek, the original series, we go to the observation deck.
We do, where Kirk is showing Lenore around the ship, and she asks about the soft lighting that we heard in the intro, which she unfortunately didn't arrange.
No, the lighting of the ship mimics Earth's day and night cycle.
It does. She then ignores any subtleties and asks him if he... I was going to have this for the clip. She asks him if he surges and throbs. Now, there's no getting around this.
Yeah, I've got this entire scene down as they flirt for a bit.
It's more than that.
Heavy petting follows.
Flirting is a bit of the flash of the eyelids and a cheeky little smile. It's not Kirk, Captain.
This is more like foreplay, isn't it?
Do you throb? Do you surge? She then asks him to talk dirty about other women that he's known.
She might be into that sort of thing.
I think she is.
Yeah.
She's a sort.
Well,
and he's up for it.
Well,
He's a Cheshire cat.
I think he approves.
He does. But he wants to talk about her and asks about when she first performed. However, she's not for having this, and he has to admit to her that in an ever-changing universe, a woman always remains a woman, in his view.
That comes across as quite a dated line, but I think a lot of folk would still subscribe to it.
In any case, this seems to do it for her, as she calls him the Caesar of the stars, and she, his Cleopatra, to worship him as they finally manage to get physical.
Oh, that's a bit of kissing. And the sort of aggressive Kirk kissing style.
Yeah, the holding the shoulders.
Trying to snap her neck whilst doing it, yeah.
Up on the bridge, we cut to Spock, asking the library to look for any commonality between Leighton, Caridian, Riley, and
Kirk. But presumably he won't find anything because Caridian won't have any link to the others. He didn't exist until after those other three had their encounter with Kodos.
Yeah. We are in the corridor.
Yeah, we've skipped ahead a little bit. Spock has finished his research and now he is filling McCoy in on his findings.
Which are?
Well, he's going through what happened in Tarsus 4.
Yes, the 8,000 population reduced to 4,000.
Yeah, there was a crisis, a food crisis due to some kind of fungus eating the crops, so the 8,000 colonists could not survive for long.
So Kodos decided to seize power, declare martial law, and kill those who he deemed weren't suitable to be kept on the rations.
Yeah, so half the folk were allowed to live on rations, half the folk were just murdered. And it went particularly wrong for him when help arrived immediately afterwards.
Yeah,
that's a bit unfortunate.
That is a bit unfortunate, isn't it? Yeah.
Anyhow, yes, Spock makes a reference to eugenics, survival of the fittest by selective breeding. McCoy makes the note that he wasn't the only one to have ideas about eugenics, and that's something that will come back in the episode Space Seed in a few weeks' time. Yeah,
I think I'm not happy. I'm not in terms of the eugenics and things of the allusion to Hitler and that. I don't think that's not what Kodos is... but it's
Do
not...
you think Kodos is a good guy who's misunderstood?
No, I think he made a decision. I don't think he was doing it for his own power, his own benefit. I think he, at worst, made a bad decision, but he thought he was doing it for the best interest of his people.
Spock notes that there were children made to watch their parents die.
Well, I mean, you have that in one hand.
What I want to know is, how did he end up burned?
Well, there must have been some sort of fire, obviously.
I think what happened was he burned somebody and made it out to be him. He put somebody in his clothes, set them on fire, and then ran away.
Yeah, but that was probably someone who was getting killed. He probably took a body of one of the ones who
he'd already executed.
There's 4,000 of them.
Okay.
So you find someone who's got a similar sort of build.
Put them in his clothes, disappear.
Yeah.
In terms of Karidian, Spock notes that his bio and his history seems to begin the day that Kodos died. That was careless. Even now you can create some kind of history.
Yeah, it was sloppy work, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But again, this sort of supports the fact that this wasn't some megalomaniacal plan he devised. It wasn't premeditated as such. He just thought he was doing the right thing. And he must have been like, oh no. Here
they come to save us.
Here they come. Oh no. Right guys, we're here. We're plenty of time. So, what do you need? What is that food you need? What's the situation? Well,
the thing is,
you see, I assumed, yep, we can all, so don't worry about it, we're all going to survive.
Why didn't you call ahead?
No need to panic. You could have told me. You never asked.
Oh dear.
Yeah. What's that burning smell? Well,
it's me?
Yeah. So there's 8,000. We need food for 8,000. Is that right? No. No. There's only about 4,000 here. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yep. Have you been burning people? No. We can smell it. Yeah. Some. Why?
Meanwhile, McCoy's taking his time to piece things together here.
Yeah, where were we? I'm lost.
McCoy's brain's catching up to where Spock is, and he asks whether Kirk might suspect that Karidian is Kodos, and Spock basically says he'd be an idiot if he didn't suspect that.
Yeah.
Kirk and Riley, it transpires, are the only surviving witnesses to have seen Kodos.
Not only this, but now it is known that the acting company was nearby when the other 7 died. That's
Kodos finishing the job.
He's not very good at this murder lark, is he?
No.
You can't have 7 people dying and you always being around them at the time. It's very, very suspicious.
It's like Jessica Fletcher.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. Down in engineering, an impatient Riley communicates to the rec room to moan about his new assignment and admits that if it is a punishment duty, he doesn't know what for. I would have assumed it would be for that last.
Yeah, I'm surprised they let him back into engineering.
Exactly, yeah.
He seems to have a glass of milk and some cereal or something waiting for him.
Well, he's got his Lego food.
Yeah, yes, the cubes. That's what it is.
He's overly dramatic and asks Uhura to play a love song for him, which she happily does. I mean, I think she just likes to perform, so she's...
Yes, if someone's interested in listening.
To her, yeah. I'm not impressed with it. I don't like her singing or playing.
No. Were you impressed by the murderer's technique?
No, it was rubbish. Again, it was...
There's no way he wouldn't have seen them.
No, exactly, yeah.
There's nothing in between them.
Yeah. He's on I think he's on a swivel chair, and the murderer just sort of manages to get in mid-swivel.
Yeah.
With the back turned
with the old garden sprayer.
I was going to say, it's a sprayer that you've had from the 40s.
Yes.
How is that still being used?
That's the last thing they would suspect.
Yeah. And this is the point, yes. So it's a gloved hand, and as soon as I say a gloved hand, what are they trying to hide? They're only trying to hide the fact that it's a female.
Yeah, probably.
It's always the case.
So Riley almost drinks his milk at some point.
Well, there's a bit of tension, isn't it? Will he? Won't he? And then, now, bear in mind, this is a drink with food.
He just chugs the whole thing.
You tend to take a small sip. You don't want to bag your stomach up as you're eating. But it turns out it wasn't the whole lot, but I thought it was at first. He makes sure he's getting plenty of that poison inside him. He
does, and starts to choke. But fortunately, he's on the radio there to the rec room and is able to ask for help.
And we head to sickbay, where McCoy is doubtful that he can save Riley, but Spock insists that he must, as Kirk would then be the next and final target.
I don't get Spock's reasoning. Surely Kirk will be the next target either way.
Yes, and also it's like, yeah, I mean, Riley, we don't really care about him, but
Kirk.
we need him as a shield. If he's still
If
alive.
we keep him alive, they'll keep trying to kill him until they get him.
That's
They
his-
can only do it in this order.
Yes, that's his rationale, yeah. Riley's sitting, semi-conscious. Oh, what about me? Never you mind.
Stay alive.
Stay alive, yeah, we need you as a human shield. Your singing's terrible. This is what you get.
We're going to strap you to the outside of the Enterprise.
Catherine's log 2819.1. Riley is getting worse, and McCoy is working to try and find an antidote.
But everybody is concerned.
You would be. There's a murderer running around
He's
poisoning
trying to kill
people.
your guy, yeah. Kirk's normally quite happy with losing guys. He's not really that fussed.
No, he's used to it by now. We are still in sickbay. A little bit later, McCoy thinks that he has identified the poison.
Tetralubisol.
Ship lube.
Yes.
Now, in that case, I think Lenore would be the prime suspect.
It's a volatile lubricant.
And McCoy is half-heartedly suggesting that it could have been a mistake.
Yeah, and he keeps that up right through to when they speak to Kirk about it.
No,
I suppose he's saying he doesn't have evidence to conclude it wasn't a mistake.
yeah, but in your entire career,
That would be the worst mistake.
yeah,
It's
have
like,
you
pour
ever?
a glass of milk, hang on, milk or tetralubisol?
Yeah,
Why would you keep them together? Who's
not-
done that?
the probability of it. I mean, it could be, but it's no. You have to assume that it's not a mistake.
Yeah.
You've never experienced that before. Has anyone ever came in with ship lube
Yeah.
poisoning before? No, because it doesn't happen.
You should also be able to tell by the volume of tetralubisol. If it's a glass full, it'll be different to if it's been added to a glass of milk.
Well, I think a glass full. Bear in mind based on what we've seen, that they've killed him
So
pretty much
McCoy-
instantly.
McCoy should be able to say it clearly wasn't a glass full that was prepared. Although maybe they don't know how much was lost when he dropped the glass.
Yeah.
They go to Kirk's quarters because Spock insists that they report this immediately.
They do indeed. Where, firstly, McCoy tells him that Riley's a good chance now of making it, but Spock gets straight to the point and warns him that he, Kirk that is, will be a target due to him being able to identify Kodos.
Yeah, Kirk tells him to spit it out, essentially, tell him what he's thinking, and Spock knows. He says the two men were witnesses, and Kirk figures out that Spock's onto him.
Yeah, I think he admits that he has checked the library just as he did, even whilst McCoy is again trying to put forward this accident theory of his, which is brushed aside.
You'd think Kirk would be happy for the support of his first officer.
But this causes an argument between them, with Kirk again being unreasonable and calling it out as meddling in his personal business.
He's flown the whole starship 8 light years off course.
Yeah,
It's not. It can't just be personal business.
but Spock has a valid point about how it could affect the entire ship. You've potentially picked up a serial killer.
Yes, a mass murderer.
When you put Riley in harm here by doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Had he not done this, Riley wouldn't have been in danger.
Well, he would have been, but just not right now.
Yeah.
So I suppose if Kirk hadn't manoeuvred for them to get on board, somebody else would have manoeuvred them on board.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, McCoy steps in as the voice of reason here and points out to Kirk that it's Spock's job to do what he's doing.
I mean, I think it's something when McCoy feels compelled to back up Spock against Kirk.
Absolutely.
But Kirk insists that nothing is proven, and Spock remarks that even in that part of the galaxy in space, 2 + 2 = 4. And this, I think, seems to calm things down. Spock states that he faces a certain threat to his life and wants to know why he invites this upon himself.
I don't think Kirk accepts that suggestion.
No, he says he doesn't he doesn't invite it upon himself. He wants justice. Now, you see, is that the point you were trying? Because I think that supports my point.
I think it supports my point.
No, I mean, I think justice, it depends what... Okay, so you think that in any other episodes, and going forward, do you think that justice to Kirk is for people to take it into their own hands?
No, but in every other instance, he wouldn't describe it as a personal matter or a personal affair. So it's a personal affair in which he wants justice. He doesn't want the guy brought to justice. He wants to deliver justice on a personal basis.
I mean, again, it's just an interpretation, I suppose. But for me, because what we do see him doing, he prevents it from what you're seeing happening.
But listen to this next clip we've got coming up, and listen to what McCoy says and how Kirk responds.
No, I'm not sure. I wish I was. I've done things I've never done before. I've placed my command in jeopardy. From here on, I've got to determine whether or not Caridian is CODIS.
He is.
You sound certain. I wish I could be. Before I accuse a man of that, I've got to be. I saw him once, 20 years ago. Men change. Memory changes. I look at him now, he's an actor. He could have changed his appearance. No. Logic is not enough. I've got to feel my way. Make absolutely sure.
What if you decide he is Kodos? What then? Do you play God, carry his head through the corridors in triumph? That won't bring back the dead, Jim.
No. But they may rest easier.
Yeah, but that could just be a bit of bravado. When it comes down to it, I don't believe that Kirk would do it. I mean, I think he's angry and he's saying, wait till I get my hands on you. If I get, I'll kill you. But I'm not sure if he actually would. I think it's the type of thing where you would be that moment of tension. Maybe he points his phaser or whatever at him and he can't pull the trigger.
I don't think he is resolved in what he wants to do. I just think that he is keeping open as an option, killing the guy.
Okay.
Well, listen, when the two of them come head to head, there's another line that I think supports what I'm saying.
Fine.
So we come back to this scene, but McCoy's gone, so I presume time has passed.
Spock is still there, and he attempts to have Kirk use logic and agree with him about the peril that he faces.
Yes, and his point is disputed, but immediately proven when he picks up a sound.
A low hum.
Both Kirk and Spock immediately recognise this as the sound of an overloading phaser.
Yeah.
I think we saw number 1 threaten this during the Menagerie episode.
We certainly did. So as Spock searches for the phaser, Kirk puts out a ship-wide communication with a double red alert evacuating the quadrant. A double red alert.
I don't think there is a double red alert. I think.
Oh yeah, there is.
He's just really upset.
Double dare you.
Yeah. That's the only you never hear anyone ask for a double red alert.
A red alert. No, make it a double. Yeah, it's really important. A red alert's not important enough.
Yeah, I think he's made it up on the spot here.
He orders Spock out to deal with the evacuation as he continues frantically to try and find the device. Unfortunately, he does, as it's been very terribly hid.
Well, it was hidden fine until the red alert lights came on and highlighted it.
You think?
Yeah, you can see it. You only see its silhouette because the red light's flashing behind it.
Yeah, I suppose if you didn't assume that, they would hear the hum.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
So Kirk manages to recover this phaser from behind the panel.
Yeah, he can't disarm it, however.
No, he has to take it to some kind of convenient garbage disposal.
Yeah, a pressure vent disposal.
Very conveniently, right outside his door.
And he waits for it to do its worst.
Yeah. Spock returns and then the ship is rocked by
That's
an
all.
explosion.
Yeah. A bit of a stumble.
I think they've managed to vent it in a pressurised way.
Yeah, and disaster appears to be averted for now.
Kirk, though, is obviously angered. His dander is up.
Yes, so down in Caridian's quarters, we see him moping around, which, strangely, is decorated with Shakespearean weapons.
He's brought them with him.
I thought that was really strange. They're getting a lift somewhere. It's not like make yourself at home, decorate the place. Why would you? So he's got a chest of weapons, and he thinks, while I'm here, I'll place it all. No, you would love it, a suitcase.
No, he's putting it all up on the wall.
Ridiculous.
It gets him in the zone for his performance.
Terrible. That wouldn't happen. But here's the thing as well. So you think this chap may well be someone who's butchered 4,000 people?
Yeah.
And you allow him to have his weapons?
Well, they can't prove anything, that's the problem. And maybe they're only props.
Still. A prop sword. not like a gun.
No. Kirk comes in without knocking or beeping.
Yeah, ignoring his request for privacy as he goes on to outline the recent sinister events.
He flat out asks if Caridian is Kodos, but only gets a cryptic response.
Yeah, I think he says, "Do you believe I am?" That's not...
It's not an answer.
Stop with this. We're not having this.
Do you believe that I believe that you are?
And Kirk says he does believe it. Caridian responds to this by accepting that, in that case, he is Kodos. If it pleases him to believe so, he's an actor and he plays many parts. At this point, I was saying, stop with this beep.
Yeah.
Are you Kodos or not? Don't care what you think,
Kill
I think,
it
and you think.
straight.
Yeah, are you? Give him the old the throttle.
There's another clue that Kirk refuses to fully accept when he gives Caridian Kodos's famous death speech to read out so they can do a pattern analysis. And it turns out that Caridian knows it already.
Yeah, I mean, that was after, I think there was a melancholic touch where we hear them discussing that what they were like 20 years ago. There was a little bit of, I don't know.
The problem with this whole scene is that you don't know what Caridian's doing. What's he playing it for? What's his goal? Is he trying to dissuade Kirk from looking into this? Is he just trying to delay him?
Yeah, you're wondering if he knows. It's one of those things that, do you think that he knows the game's up and he's actually relieved perhaps
The
that...
other thing I thought is maybe he's forgotten his past. Maybe something's happened, he's had an accident, or maybe at the time that they thought he was burned,
Well,
he suffered a concussion of some kind and doesn't remember it.
maybe the psychological trauma of
Yeah, he's disassociated himself
butchering
from
4,000
the
people in front of their family.
I genuinely got the impression maybe he doesn't know if he's Kodos.
Well, I mean, that is fairly relevant to how the episode ends, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a touch of that.
It reminded me a little bit. I saw a documentary not that long ago about a guy in America who was arrested as a Nazi war criminal when he was in his 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying, I'm not a Nazi war criminal. And it was quite difficult to establish one way or the other.
Sure.
I think they decided that he probably was.
Yeah, they give him life. He served one day.
Yeah, that's it. He's so old. Did you like the little speech that they got him to read?
Yeah, okay, so what happens is that Kirk says, okay, we've got an infallible, it turns out it's not infallible, we've got an infallible test here. I want you to read this speech, and we'll compare it to the voice of Kodos, who we have on file. Tell me about this speech.
He says the revolution is successful. What revolution? Presumably his taking power and imposing martial law. Mm-hmm. He says, but survival depends on drastic measures. Your continued existence represents a threat to the well-being of society. Your lives means slow death to the more valued members of the colony. So that's the eugenics side of it. Therefore, I have no alternative but to sentence you to death. Your execution is so ordered. Signed, Kodos, Governor of Tarsus 4. And about a third of the way through that, Caridian stops reading it and knows it.
He's rubbish, isn't he, at hiding this? He's really not a good master criminal.
Kirk challenges him on that. He says, you seem to know it. He says, I'm a good actor. I learn my lines quickly.
That's not in any way believable or acceptable. And in fact, he goes on the offence by claiming Kirk to be an example of the modern, mechanised, inhumane society that they currently have.
He also gives it the full OJ by saying, if I was Kodos, here's why I would have done what was done.
Yeah, and he oddly claims that man no longer strives for greatness, and goes on to defend the decision made by Kodos, as you mentioned there.
Yeah, and then we get to this bit, I think, when, that I mentioned earlier, where Caridian or Kodos challenges Kirk to take revenge, and Kirk says if he was certain, then he would, but he's not, so he can't.
Yeah, but that might just be a beating.
Might just be a beating, but it's more likely he's going to cut his head off and parade it through the corridors, like McCoy said.
I think it's very unlikely that on the Enterprise, I mean, because Kirk would... We've seen this before as well with Spock last week, the last 2 episodes. Yeah. What, he's going to give up his entire... He's going to be jailed. I mean, you can't murder someone by going renegade, by going rogue. So if he does this, what happens?
That's the end of his work.
He's jailed, yes. He's been in prison for the rest of his life, I'd assume.
Yep.
I can't see Kirk doing that at all.
That's assuming he's going to make a rational decision and not an emotional one.
But that's what I said earlier. It would have been believable had
Kodos established this.
Yeah, killed his family, murdered his mother or his children. Then you think, yeah, I can totally understand because I'll do that myself. But he's only acting as a peacekeeper here. He's only acting as the effectively as the authority, as the justice system.
Yeah, you don't get the personal stakes. You get Kirk acting like he has personal stakes,
precisely,
without them establishing those stakes.
Yeah.
Lenore comes in at this point, and she's furious because she realises now that Kirk's been using her.
Yeah, I think she was in the bedroom.
Oh, she just comes through?
Mm-hmm.
She's heard the whole thing?
But I don't know if she's heard the whole thing. But I wasn't sure about that.
Kirk tries to persuade her that, originally he was just using her, as we suggested at the start. But it developed into more than that, but she's not impressed.
Yeah. Did we mention the fact that Kirk points out that there's no records for Caridian
Yeah, he's trying to
earlier than
make it-
20 years. And I think he rambles on about his diminishing health and his lack of respect for life now and how the past is a blank. So I think that supports what you're saying in terms of perhaps how much of it he is able to acknowledge.
Yes, he disassociated himself mentally. But I don't think it turns out that he has. We'll come back to that.
Yeah. Yeah, so you mentioned Lenore was, as come in here, she's angry, she's upset about him apparently using her to get to her father. And I think he says that if he is not Kodos, then they will simply be dropped off at Benicia.
Hey, no harm done.
Yeah, that's not really, yeah,
She challenges that, doesn't she? She says, who's he to say what harm would be done?
indeed. Back down to sick bay, McCoy takes a sick log.
Yeah, he's a bit careless.
That sounds like the kids in the toilet. Hey man, I just had a...
That's shocking. He doesn't realise that Riley's listening in to this log.
This was, I thought, very unprofessional by McCoy. So the chap you're talking about is in the very next room.
Yeah. You think
There's
he's
no
asleep?
door there.
but-
No, you can't
yeah.
assume that when you're discussing such personal and very specific
Yeah.
details.
Basically, we find out here that Kodos killed Riley's family, and Riley learns that they think Caridian is Kodos
Yeah,
and disappears.
he does. Yeah, I think we find out that Riley is now sufficiently recovered,
Yeah,
but
he's doing better.
Kirk wanted him to be
Kept
detained or
away.
kept there. Yeah, kept out of the way for his own, I suppose, for his own safety.
We get a brief captain's log where Kirk notes that Caridian's being surveilled and they've got double guards in place where necessary.
Double red alert, double
He's just
guarded.
doubling everything. Everything's doubled.
Yeah, and we head to the Enterprise Theatre.
Yes, for a little production of Hamlet.
Do we? So we I take it we don't ever see the theatre again on Enterprise.
Not certain, but I don't think so.
Okay. Lenore comes on stage and introduces Hamlet. She calls it a violent play about violent times, and we see that other members of the crew are watching, not just in the audience, but on screens around the ship.
Yeah.
A live broadcast.
While they're working.
Mm.
Kirk and Spock, though, are in Kirk's quarters.
Yeah, at the same time that was going on, Kirk is receiving the results from the voice test. I think Spock is delivering them.
Yeah, he declares that they match, but Kirk doesn't agree.
Well, I think he said it's a match, but not an exact match. So
He's
earlier-
older now. He's older now.
Yeah, so this infallible test that can't be beaten was pretty useless.
I think this is just Kirk's having a moment about the fallibility of machines.
Yeah, because he thinks that the results are not enough for him to effectively convict in his mind.
He doesn't... He's aware of what he wants to do to Kodos, and he doesn't want to be in a position where there's any kind of doubt whatsoever that this is who the guy is.
Yeah. Back down in sickbay, McCoy enters and is disturbed to find that Riley has gone, and so lets Kirk know. And at the same time, he receives a message that the weapons locker has been broken into.
Yeah, Kirk puts out an APB on Riley. At
He
this
does,
point.
yeah. And he leaves for the theatre himself, where we find Caridian performing when Kirk arrives.
Yep, Kirk sneaks around backstage and spots Riley with a phaser.
Yeah, he orders him back to sickbay, but Riley reminds him of what Caridian did to his family, and Kirk responds that he may be wrong and not to throw his life away, so we can't... He's telling this to Riley. Surely he's not going to do the same thing himself without any personal stake. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but that's because he's not certain. If he was certain this is who it was, then it's not a
You'd still
mistake.
be throwing your life away.
No, but he says don't throw your career away on an error. You can throw it away if it's
I'm sure he's
the
not.
right guy.
No, I'm sure he's not. We wouldn't have said that either. You're right, Riley. You did kill it. Go on, you go, son. No, I can't see.
Fair's fair.
I can't see that happening.
Kirk ultimately wins over the young man, and
Very easily, actually.
yeah, he's able to get him to surrender the phaser, and he heads back to sickbay.
But backstage, Lenore is very positive as her father returns from on stage, but he is definitely not of the same mind, and lets her know why before we have the twist that no one definitely saw coming.
Nobody at all.
What is it? What's wrong?
There was a voice out of the past, haunting me, torturing me. There was another part I once played long ago. I never told you about it. And now that same curtain rises again. The time has come.
No, Father. The time will never come. Tonight, after my performance, the last two who can harm you will be gone.
What are you saying?
There were 9. Now there are only 2. And they will be gone as soon as I have... Don't look at me like that.
What have you done?
What had to be done? They had to be silenced.
All of them. All 7? More blood on my hands.
No, Father, not anymore. I'm strong, Father. It's nothing.
Second act, 3 minutes.
We'll be ready. Don't you see? All the ghosts are dead. I've buried them. There's no more blood on your hands.
My child, my child. You've left me nothing. You were the one thing in my life untouched by what I'd done.
But you're safe now, Father. I've saved you.
She is such a psycho that even the guy who killed 4,000 people is looking at her thinking, whoa, you're a bit crazy.
Where did that come from your mother?
And also, how many numbers? How many? He killed 7. He's killed 4,000 and he's not another 7. That doesn't make any
More
difference.
blood on my hands.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a worrying. If a guy who's murdered 4,000 people looks at you like you're a bit mental, then you're a bit mental.
You're in trouble.
Yeah.
At this, Caridian makes his confession.
Well, is this? I think Kirk enters at this point.
Yeah, Kirk's there, and
Yeah.
Caridian accepts that he was Kodos.
Yeah, but before that, I think that the psycho says that Kirk is here because he's in awe of your greatness. No, he's not. He's not. That's not why he's here at all. No, he's here to arrest you or maybe kill you.
Yeah. Lenora is adamant that despite his confession, her father should be allowed to complete the play.
Again, not how it works. You're being arrested for killing 4,007 people.
Yes.
Between the two of you. You don't get to finish your play.
Kirk calls an incompetent security guard over.
We've seen this happen a few times. Did they get any sort of training?
They don't listen if they do. They're very arrogant.
They always walk about with their guns flopping around or not. I mean, I don't know a lot about gun safety and I've not been trained in firearms in any way. But
I've seen footage of you at a firearms facility.
You have actually, yes. We're in Vegas. But you don't just walk. That's dreadful.
Yeah, he just walks in lackadaisical and she grabs his phaser off his belt.
Yeah, he should be getting sacked. I hope he gets sacked for that.
Certainly disciplined severely.
Back in another training course anyway.
Seminar after seminar.
Yeah, I mean, he's security, isn't he? He's not just...
That's his job.
Shocking mall cop type stuff.
Yeah. Lenore runs out onto the stage with this phaser.
Yes, followed by Caridian and Kirk. She turns and she faces them.
I think at this point, even her megalomaniacal father wants her to back down a little bit. Just chill out slightly, Lenore.
But she's taking the psycho up a level. I mean, we're focusing on her eyes and she's crazy. She's got the crazy on.
It's a very theatrical performance.
Yeah. She talks about... she rambles about how the ship will be becoming a floating tool, I think, with the soul of the great Caridian touching stars and other such garbage.
Yeah, and ultimately she tries to kill Kirk.
Yes, but her father steps
redeems
forward.
himself entirely.
Well, yes. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah. He takes the shot.
Yeah, she warns him about the Ides of March, and at this point, he jumps in, grabs the bullet. Oh!
And that breaks her.
Yeah, at this point, she collapses over his body. She quite happily gives the phaser to Kirk.
She gives a soliloquy.
She does. Tell me about that.
She says, Father, Father, O proud death, what feast is toward in thine eternal cell that thou, such a prince at a shot so bloodily hast struck? The curtain rises, it rises. There's no time to sleep. The play's the thing. wherein we'll catch the conscience of the king.
Name check. Roll credits.
Exactly.
Very good, Ian. Well done. And Kirk helps her up at this point and leads her away
Very kind of him.
for a good beating.
Well, I think she's gone a bit cuckoo at this stage.
Maybe he's thinking, one last chance. Is there any chance before you...
Before you completely lose it. Bullet dodged and
Or-
away someone.
We're up on the bridge. Obviously, sometime later, McCoy
Yeah.
approaches Kirk with Lenore's medical report, and what do we discover?
She's lost her mind. She's going to go to an asylum. She thinks her father's still performing plays.
Yeah, and she'll be receiving the medical treatment. I mean, I assume before she's imprisoned indefinitely.
Yeah, she's going to get sent to that facility where they tried to brainwash Kirk
Yeah.
in Dagger of the Mine.
Yeah.
McCoy wants to know whether Kirk ever had any real affection for Lenore, if it was all just a front.
Yeah, it's a view that he doesn't deny, but instead orders the navigator to stand by to leave orbit. So McCoy tries again.
Yep.
And while Kirk doesn't verbalise anything, he gives him a wistful smile that I think McCoy takes as affirmation that he was right.
And they head off on another adventure. So we didn't come to a real conclusion. We don't really agree on whether Kirk was out for vengeance or why he considered it a personal matter. But I think the moral ambiguity of that, the fact that he was considering an immoral action, makes this episode stand out a little bit from some of the run-of-the-mill ones.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, what I would say is that I think that you might be right in the sense that maybe he thinks that's his intention or that's what he's going to do. I don't personally believe that he would have went through with it.
No. The other thing that I loved in this one was the Spock McCoy stuff, because normally they're sort of digging at each other, but in serious circumstances where they had problems with Kirk, the two of them kind of came together and worked as a pair.
It was very nice. I did appreciate that. I also like the feel of this episode, just, being I suppose a murder mystery fan, I did have that tone, that flavour.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. I mean, the reveal, as we mentioned at the beginning, wasn't a surprise by any stretch of the imagination. There were enough clues there, but I don't think, obviously, it wasn't. That wasn't the purpose of the episode. It's not that type of show, so that's not a negative. No, really, I did enjoy it. Although what I would say, how Kirk was written there, I wasn't entirely convinced it was true to character.
They need to establish his personal connection to the.
Yeah, so there was the 2 points there. One was that he didn't have a personal, emotional drive to do what you thought he was going to do.
It would be easy to do that. They could have put him with Leighton at the start.
It could have been a cousin, it could have been friends, it could have been anyone. It could have been, didn't have to be his wife and his kids, but
it could even have been that Leighton was one of his closest friends or something like that.
Yeah, but as far as we know, he wasn't. He was just someone he knew, and also how he. I mean, it's tied in, but the fact that he went rogue and didn't confide with Spock and McCoy, I don't see why he wouldn't have done that, unless, of course, he was going to do something extremely evil.
Or hadn't ruled out doing something. Didn't want them involved.
Yeah. There was no Scotty or
no Sulu.
Sulu this week, yeah. Missing them.
Well, we'll see them again when they're affordable.
No doubt. Okay, well, I think it's a fairly long episode already. Will we rattle through what we've still got to rattle through?
I've got a lot of rattling to do.
Oh.
As Kirk would say. The original air date for this show is the 8th of December 1966. It was directed by Gert Oswald. He would go on to direct one further episode of the series, and he'd previously worked on shows like Perry Mason, The Outer Limits, and later worked on Gentle Ben and The Twilight Zone, and he died in 1989 at the age of 69.
So he would have directed Clint Howard?
Yes, of course. His father, Richard, was a prolific director in Germany before the family had to flee the Nazi regime in 1938 and ultimately settled in America. And his father went back to Germany after the war, but Gert lived in the US for the rest of his life. The writer was Barry Trivers. This is his only Star Trek contribution, though. He was a prolific writer, penning episodes of Naked City, Rawhide and Kojak, among many others, in a 40-plus year career that began in 1930. He was born in Egypt. He died in LA in 81 at the age of 74. Arnold Moss played Kodos the Executioner, or Caridian, if you're still a bit vague on that. At this stage, he was 20 years into a film career that would last a further dozen years and include episodes of The Monkees, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and The Edge of Night. From the 40s into the 80s, you might like this, he was one of America's leading cruciverbalists.
Oh, what?
He was responsible for a lot of the New York Times Sunday crosswords. He set the crosswords.
Very good.
His son Jeff, you might like this as well, was the original head writer on Sesame Street.
That's nice.
He earned an Oscar nomination for his work on The Muppets Take Manhattan.
Very good, yeah. Good trivia.
Arnold Moss died in 89 as well, at the age of 79.
Did he have a dagger through the heart?
No evidence was ever produced.
Bro.
You'll have recognised Barbara Anderson.
I certainly did, yeah.
She was Lenore. She's best remembered as the original Eve Whitfield in Ironside, a role that won her an Emmy. She is alive and is the last surviving cast member of Ironside, even outliving her replacement in the role. She's also appeared in shows like Mission Impossible, Wonder Woman and Hawaii Five-0, and her acting mentor, who is best known as Ironside, I suppose, as Raymond Burr, also Perry Mason. The 6 costumes that she wore in this episode ties the record with a couple of future guests. Okay.
I think she stopped working around 93, which is a fairly long time ago. She could still have been...
Must be doing something else. Who knows what? Maybe someone will write in.
Maybe just retired from acting.
Yeah, well, I've seen that before. You saw it with even with Dory on Sledgehammer. Sometimes folks decide.
Yeah, because she married Michael Crichton.
Yeah, well, that's a bit different scenario, isn't it?
And then divorced him, so...
Like the episode's director, William Sargent, who played Leighton, fled the Nazis in the 30s and emigrated to America. He became naturalised and was drafted into the armed forces, and he deployed to the front lines during the Korean War. He then began a performing career on his return from the front lines, and he appeared in shows like The Twilight Zone, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and Peyton Place. He retired from acting around the turn of the century, and he's still alive at the age of 89.
That's good to hear.
Natalie Norrick played Martha Leighton. She also appeared in shows like Have Gun Will Travel, Mike Hammer, Perry Mason, Starsky and Hutch. Died in 2007 at the age of 84. You'll obviously have recognised Bruce Hyde, who was Riley. He was cast in this role, and it was a different character, and they realised that he was Riley, so they rewrote it as Riley. We talked about him back in episode 4, so if you want to hear his bio, go back and listen to our episode about the Naked Time. This was the 4th of 19 episodes for which Marvin March was credited as the set decorator. Now, it seems a bit obscure, but
Eminem,
bear with me. He went on to pick up 5 Oscar nominations in a long and successful career in that role on a string of major movies, including Annie, Flashdance, Fletch, Ghostbusters, Lethal Weapon and Lethal Weapon 2, Home Alone 2, Addams Family Values, and Murder by Death.
Starring
Peter Falk, which by association makes March our Columbo connection for this week.
Yeah, reasonably tenuous, but we need to take what we can get.
Yeah.
A lot of my favourite movies in his resume.
Yeah. We talked already about this being the last episode that Grace Lee Whitney filmed, but she does appear in one further one in air date order. Kodos is the name given to one of the big green tentacled aliens in The Simpsons.
Big what?
Big green tentacled aliens.
Yeah, okay.
And it's named after this episode, the character in this episode. Both of the green aliens have Star Trek names.
That's interesting.
This, like I said, was the only time we see the observation deck. We'll get more mentions of eugenics in the future. And in terms of international titles, there's 3 who go beyond a direct translation.
Back in track.
I think when it's Shakespearean, though, it's hard for folk to push it. The Italians went with La Magnificenza del Re, which is the magnificence of the king, which doesn't make sense unless that's what the Shakespeare quote is in Italian.
Yeah.
The Germans went with Kodos der Henker, which is Kodos the executioner. And we have a partial return to form from the Japanese translators who chose Satukinki Kodosu, which is Kodos, the bloodthirsty ghoul, or possibly the bloodthirsty felon. Yeah,
it's I'll give them that, yeah. Back on track. Could do better, but...
if they work hard, next week will be a good one.
Yeah, no doubt.
Talking of next week, next time we're going to meet an iconic adversary for the first time as we look at the 14th episode, Balance of Terror.
Darth Vader?
Well, we have to wait and see. Probably not Darth Vader, though. In the meantime, you know where we are on social media. We're at Trek Podcast everywhere. If you can leave us reviews, that would be great. But what would really help us is if you tell your friends, tell your other Star Trek fans that you speak to about the podcast and tell them why you like it. That would be very much appreciated.
Okay. Until then,
Cheerio.
bye bye.